Good morning. I'm good. How are you?
I am great. So we'll just wait for another 2 minutes for people to
Done.
join in and then we'll.
Done.
All right.
Okay, I think, get into better lighting. So I didn't catch your name. You are
I am
Drishti.
Devanshi. I am Devanshi from
Devanshi.
Team Flourisheal. Yeah.
Wow. So you work with Preeti, right?
Yes, we do.
Wow. Amazing.
It just feels like a family, working for a cause, working with people who are like-minded, and it just
I
it
think it's
gives a sense of
amazing.
purpose.
Yeah, I think it's amazing when she told me about how you guys are going about, having these talks with people, and then there are so many youngsters involved in talking about mental health, which is brilliant.
Right, right. Yay! I see so many people excited.
Yeah, and
Okay,
I
I
see
think
Charlie being like all positive.
yeah. I think we'll start. We have like 15 people.
Let's get started. Yes.
All right. So, greetings, everybody. I hope you all are having a very good morning. I am Devanshi from Team Flourisheal, and welcome to the first live session of Flourisheal's program, which is Reset the Narrative Meri Kahani, Meri Zubani. The first live session is based on the theme Living with Anxiety. And before I begin with the session, I would like to introduce what Flourisheal is. So, Flourisheal is an upcoming online community, a psychoeducation community, and a resource channel that aims to bring people together and create a space that promotes and manifests healing. And one of the biggest aims is to motivate people and stimulate people and give a voice to people's journeys of growth and healing that are often, left unheard. So, on the same lines, our program is to give voices to people to narrate their own story in their own voices and share with people. And, we never know, it might hit a chord in somebody, and people might know how growth and resilience and hope comes into play. So, Flourisheal is actually headed by Dr. Preeti Kapoor. She will be joining us later in the session. And our first session with Miss Vineeta Mangal. So, I'll introduce her. So, she is a public relations consultant and she's currently based in Mumbai. And she's worked with major leading global brands and she deals with the Indian strategies in their companies. And having struggled with anxiety, insomnia, and panic attacks, she's somebody who's very motivated to spread awareness about mental health and the need to take care of your mental health. So, before wasting any more time, I think I would express my heartfelt gratitude to Miss Vineeta Mangal for being with us here and for sharing her story on our platform. And we hope to learn so much more from you, ma'am.
You
The
don't have to
stage is
call me ma'am. You can just call me Vanita.
all right.
Thank you so much. So, do you want me to get started, on how it all began, what I experienced, and how I started overcoming?
Yeah, I think because it's your narrative to just take away whatever you want, I think I request everybody to just put in the questions they have for Miss Vinita. And as and when we go ahead, we will probably take the questions up. But whatever you want, however you want to go ahead with your story, it's all yours.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining, and thank you, Flourisheal, for the initiative. So, to begin with, I understood this one thing about anxiety and depression, which I'll start off with, is that A, you will never be dysfunctional. With any kind of mental health issue that you have, you will not always become dysfunctional. So, you will not always be aware. And it's not like you'll always go low. Sometimes you'll be at the top of your game all the time, and you will realize that your stimulant may not be your motivation to achieve your goals, but your stimulant is fear, which is stemming out of anxiety. And this is what I was living with for all of my life. I think my first tryst with anxiety began when I was around 8 or 9 year old and when I used to go to school. And while other children would be extremely scared, like, they would be like, hey, homework karna hai. They were goal oriented. I used to be scared. If I didn't have a notebook with me, I would cry. I would cry because I would fear punishment. I would fear being in class. I wanted to run away. And everyone would think that I'm an extremely sensitive or an emotional child, which is true. But I think more than that, nobody really realized that there is something that keeps bothering me, which I'm not able to express. The same thing then started trickling to when I would go down in my building to play, which is very normal for children to do, but I could not do it. I used to get extremely scared of, if I run and if I come last, then what happens? If we play dog in the bone, and if I'm not able to, like, just run back to my team, and if I'm caught, then what happens? If you're playing badminton and if I'm not able to, and I think this kind of performance anxiety is there in people to a certain extent, but with me, I started realizing a lot later. I think this realization came to me when I started going for therapy, that all of these were nothing but small bouts of anxiety. And it's not like I was always an unhappy kid. There were days when I used to be at the top of my game. There were days when I would do extremely well in my class. There were days when I would be having fun with my cousins. And then there were days when I would experience a sudden dip where a lot of times I think parents think these are children throwing tantrums. They are mood swings. We are just going through adolescence. Teenage has arrived. I think none of us, and we don't even blame society. I think it's only now when we are having these kind of conversations and people are willing to, your friends have become open, your bosses have become open. But back then, I think uh, the adults could not figure the severity of anxiety. So leave alone children. Like बच्चों को कैसे ही पता चलेगा when their parents didn't know what anxiety was, because to a certain extent I even saw my mother going through this. She would always be super hyper. She'd be running around everywhere, but even she never realized that how anxious she was becoming day after day. So I think as I started growing older, I sort of took control, because then you get a sense of how do you want to present yourself in society. So I took control of things that I'm good at, and I started going into my shell. Little by little, like I started crawling into my shell as much as I could, and I only stuck to things that I was comfortable with which I think most of the adults do. To avoid anxiety, what we first want to do is just jump into our comfort zone and never come out of it. And that's the same thing that happened with me. Doing this helped me sort of curb anxiety. Like because I was doing, and I started rebelling a lot, and that gave me power. Like I used to fight. I used to fight with my mom. I used to fight with my dad. I used to fight with my friends, and that used to sort of. And the minute I would have a panic attack, my first resort was to fight with people. Like my hands would go slightly cold, and like anything and everything would start taking a toll on my mind. So tabhi, I think back then only I started realizing that whatever I'm doing is not normal. So and just naturally I got inclined to a lot of, around 16, 17, I got inclined to a lot of self-help books, from The Alchemist to Power of Positive Thinking to The Secret, you name it, and I would have read that book. And I feel like, even those books sort of help you to a certain extent, because you read a certain sense of guidance. You read like, okay, be positive, be optimistic, be happy, be cheerful, and things will go right in your life. You will attract the right kind of situations and circumstances. And for a certain while, you can probably fine tune your brain to do this. But step by step, as your responsibilities, even when you're a student, uh, of course, today the life is very different. Today we have Instagram. Today students are thrown, like all of you guys actually, you guys like Gen Z today lives amongst people. You guys don't get the option of running into a shell, because you're always facing someone or the other. We, fortunately for me, I didn't have to face people immediately while I was a student. So I had enough time to uh, I had enough time to groom myself and get into the workforce. My first internship is where I realized that yes, I know Secret is one of my favorites too. I know someone has written it in the comment. It is one of my favorites too. But even apart from that, I think sometimes pressurizing yourself to think positive is also an issue. You know, you have to address your emotions. You have to address things that are not going right with you. You have to confront situations when you have a fallout with a friend, when you have a fallout with a boss, when you have a fallout with your family. If you don't go back and evaluate your emotions and speak it out to somebody apart from your best friend, you will realize that that positive thinking is not going to last you for a very long time, because then it becomes a pressure to become positive. And when I entered workforce is and when responsibilities started increasing, when expectations started increasing, I had my first breakdown, and nobody could help me from it. Like even my best friend, max what people will do is ask you to go out for drinks, ask you to go out to a club, just forget about it, to stress mat le yaar, change your job, do something else. Your parents will be like, why are you getting so stressed all the time, ye kya karte rehte ho, tum zyada sochte ho. You are thinking you want to take the world. My boyfriend would tell me, you take the world on your head. You just don't know how to chill, you just don't know how to relax. And then you start thinking, is there something wrong with me? Because that's when it hits you. Okay, right since my childhood, I have been following a certain pattern in which my fear takes over when I'm overly concerned about situations. When the smallest thing affects me a lot more than it affects anybody else, is there something wrong with me? Like I remember crying for hours and hours when I would hear about a far distant relative's death, and I just could not stop myself. From there, then I remember getting angry for no reason. Like the room being a little messy, and I would start getting angry, but I did not have the strength to get up and clean the room. And when I went to my workplace, despite of performing really well, I remember taking a flight to Delhi, and in that flight, I'm getting mails of appreciation, and I'm crying all by myself because I'm so scared of failing. And that's when it hit me so hard that nobody or nothing is genuinely helping me out. Maybe it's time to seek a therapist. And it's only and it's so funny because 4 years back I started seeking therapy. I started and I just left it midway because I thought that, I think after 2 3 sessions I felt great and I got a certain perspective, and I thought that this is it. This was the aim of therapy. I've got my perspective, I've understood whatever I had to, so now I don't need it. And thanks, Darshana. I'm so glad that you took care of your acquaintance. You know what's happening to her. I think that is also very important. Even if we are not going through something on our own, if we are aware of the emotions and feelings that people around us are going through, I think that's an achievement in itself. So when I was on my flight, when I was on my way, I called up my best friend, then I called up my dad, and the only response I got was, maybe you're just overthinking right now. And I don't blame them for giving me this response, because I don't expect everyone to go through, right? Each one of us has to have our own individual journey. And that's when I consulted a therapist in 3 4 sessions, when I felt slightly better, I left. And then another situation came up, and then again I went to another therapist because I didn't want to go back, to the same person, because I didn't want to face them. And then I was just like, it's a lot of pressure to go and unload yourself to different people. So then I stopped therapy altogether for the next 2 years. If anything would go wrong, either I would seek to alcohol at night, or I would just ignore. I would not sleep for days. Like there have been there have been like 11 12 days when I went with very little sleep. So I used to live like a zombie. And I think when you start living with very little sleep, you stop feeling your emotions completely, because then you are in that zone where whether your room is clean or no, it doesn't affect you. Whether you're taking a shower every day or no, it doesn't affect you. Whether you are, but you will perform really well at work, because that's what anxiety does to you. It makes you keep going. Like, your anxiety will tell you, it'll push you, because you're so scared ki, I'm going to lose out on that one thing that is bringing me some sort of fame, some sort of money, some sort of security. So I'll keep going. But personally, I was deteriorating. I could not hit the gym. I could not study. I could not even watch a show. Like, even watching a show used to be a struggle for me, because my anxiety would kill me. Like, I'll be fidgeting with the remote, then I'll be fidgeting with my phone, then I'll be like taking a book in my hand, then I would start sketching. I thought all of this was coming, and there came a time when I started working 7 days a week non-stop. I did not take a vacation for years, for like 2 years, 2 to 3 years. And I just kept going, and everyone at work thought that I am that brilliant employee. They thought I'm a genius. I used to go on Pinterest. I used to go on Google. I used to do endless researches on the on the place that I was working at, on the industry that I was in. And I used to do this. Thanks, Drishti. Thank you for joining, and right back at you. Like, you are super strong yourself. So I used to keep going. Like, I used to, and people around me used to think that she is unstoppable. Yeah, like I think there was a time somewhere in May 2016 where I had double raises given to me because I was the hardest worker in the room. And everyone, and while this is amazing incentive wise, nobody realized that there's something not right with me when what I'm doing to myself is not right. Like, people started thinking that she is a go-getter and she's unstoppable. And I think ye jo hamara idea hai na of being so good at everything you do is actually not the best approach in life. When I and the reason why I used to keep leaving my therapy was because they all would ask me to, in some way or the other, to take it slow. That and yes, I agree with you when people think that you have all your stuff together just because you're winning. And that is, I think, the worst kind of appreciation to give a person. I think it's so important now for a workplace to ask their employees, are you doing well? Are you taking your time off? Rather than bosses just appreciating working weekends and working days and working nights. Please, like, ensure that there is enough workforce for work to be divided equally. Please ensure that your employees are doing well. Please ask your employees if they are sleeping well. Trust me, the productivity that you will get from there will be so much better than them putting hours and hours of dead work. I call it dead work usually. Like, work which goes beyond 12 hours is dead work because you're not thinking fresh, you're not acting fresh, and you're just doing it as a force, a habit, or maybe a mental anxiety that I went through. This time when I took up therapy again, I think between 2018, 2019, I started therapy all over again. And I'm so grateful I did, because what 2020 was about to bring is something that none of us anticipated. When I started for going for therapy this time, I just promised myself one thing, that in my first session, I will see if I have struck a chord with the counselor, and I will follow her guidance, and I will not leave her halfway, is what I decided. I think that decision was more important, because going to a therapist is just the first step. What is more crucial is that you continue with your therapist. And it is not going to be easy, because they ask you so many questions. They ask you so many questions. You guys know it. You guys know it's your job to keep asking people questions. But I decided that I will, week on week, I will continue. And when I reached out to her, she heard me out, and she said that, do you ever realize, she asked me a few things. Do you ever face this one, ऐसे कोई mood हो जाता है कि जाके बहुत अच्छा करना है सबके लिए. And I was like, yeah, there are times when I want to go out and give my all to people. And then she's like, ऐसा कुछ time आता है when you just want to be mean to people, when you just don't want to be around people, when you're just giving them a cold shoulder. And I was like, yeah, quite often. I just want to shut myself out. And I hate having the same person around me whom I could have been nicer to just 10 minutes back. That's where, I someone has, it's sad that people think you're okay just because you're performing well. That is true. And it does not just apply to your job, it applies to everything. When your child is performing well at school, please, ensure that they look happy. Please ensure, I know that child counseling is not a norm in India, but it's okay. Like, it's okay to keep your child in groups and watch their behavior, see what scares them, see what annoys them. Like, I just feel all of these things are now a necessity. It's not just us, it's not just the urban privilege. I think the world has changed, and how we raise ourselves has to change too. And this, when I used to go to my counselor, when she started analyzing me, she started realizing that I have a tendency to, like, undergo mania. Either my mood is too high or it's too low, and I don't even aim to strike a balance. My sleep patterns were highly irregular, and this time it was not even the work pressure. It's just that what I did to myself all these years accumulated, It bundled on my brain to such an extent that now my body was accustomed to not sleeping. It was accustomed to not eating properly. Water is something that I had just stopped drinking. Like either it would be coffee or it would be anything which is caffeinated, either Red Bull or coffee, but some sort of caffeine which will stimulate me further. And I had body anxiety. I just could not see myself putting on weight. And I think I started this at around 16, 17 when and then there came a time when I wanted to be size zero because I was studying in the UK and I was left alone. And this was the time when my parents were not there to, like, supervise. So I stopped eating anything and everything that could make me put on a little bit of weight. And I was surviving only on boiled vegetables and maybe a fruit or two. And I used to push myself to not, go beyond that. While it may seem healthy, I think I forgot the importance of fats completely, and till my waist was like this small. And again, it is so funny because the world keeps appreciating your transformation without knowing how you achieved it. So everyone was like, wow, you look fab, yaar, to kitni patli ho gayi hai. I think all of this just accumulated in my head so strongly that I started relating beauty with like being thinner, with being with and people don't see the back end work, right? So nobody will know that whether I've eaten or not. At my work, people could not see whether I'm sleeping or not. Nobody could see nobody could see what's happening behind the scenes. What they saw was the end product, and everyone seemed to be very happy with it and very appreciative of it. Um, and this is what my therapist made me realize, that you have developed body anxiety. Uh, you have developed like you have developed this, so she calls it generalized anxiety disorder, which a lot of us suffer from. It's just that when the extent is super high, and when you're I can never do meditation. Even now I struggle with meditation. I cannot watch my breath. It starts making me very anxious. So she said, you are not able to live with your mind, and that is sign enough that you now need medication. So I cried, you know, with all the things that I've cried towards. This made me so upset because what I associate psychiatric medicine with is a kind of drug that will have you addictive. फिल्मों में हम लोग देखते हैं ना कि लोगों को shock लगता है, and they give those mental shocks and everything. So I just thought that, am I already stepping into that zone? Because medication in itself sounded like a big thing to do. And I made a very big mistake of Googling, because Google will give you 1,000 different responses and everything will be just, it is not the best resource. Then I went and I spoke to my friends, and everyone had an opinion. Somebody who started medication said, मैंने तो छोड़ दिया था, like, थोड़े time में, because ये drug है. And then someone said that you will get super addicted. Then someone said that I know somebody who is undergoing a disease and she needs this pill because she cannot survive without it. And then someone told me that, if you take sleeping pills, like, just be very careful because then you will never be able to sleep without a sleeping pill. And then someone told me कि बाल गिरने लगेंगे तो मोटी हो जाओगी, and मोटी हो जाओगी तो took a massive, like, it made me take a massive backseat, because like I mentioned before, I have struggled with body anxiety all my life, to a certain extent even today, where it's not that bad. But while I can tell others don't look at your body so much, I myself am very cautious. So that is still something that I have not overcome yet. Yes, Googling medical stuff is never a good idea, but I did it. And I think most of us do it. I spoke to many different people, and I did not contact my therapist for the longest time until a lot of things started happening around me and I saw myself deteriorating further. I saw myself falling down even more. I saw my responsibilities at work increasing and my ability to sleep decrease. That's when I went back to her and I said, it's okay. Again, a therapist will never prescribe medicines to you. Always and always, please, it has to be done by a psychiatrist or by somebody who has a proper degree for it and a proper education for it, and it has to be monitored. Your therapist and your psychiatrist together should monitor it ideally. And this is what happened to me. So the first time I went to, so she took me to a psychiatrist and they both started working together with me. The first time I went in there, I think I was made super comfortable by I cleared all my doubts that will I put on weight, will I lose hair, will I become addicted, how many months do I need it for, how soon can I stop, what changes do you want to see in me. At the back of my mind I was also manipulating कि if they say कि ऐसे ऐसे changes करके तुम्हारी दवाई बंद कर देंगे, तो I was like मैं बता दूंगी मेरे ऐसे changes हो गए हैं. So then I thought to myself, who am I trying to fool? Like, these guys will be out of my life the minute I stop contacting them, but I will have to still continue living with anxiety. So, in the beginning, I was prescribed an antidepressant, a pill for insomnia, and a mood stabilizer. And the mood stabilizer was primarily given so that I stop undergoing these huge impulses in the course of the day. Sometimes when I'm super high and then I'm super low, and I was told that this is your decision and you can keep it completely confidential. You need not even tell your family about it. But it's always ideal to let somebody know that you're taking these medications so that one of your family member is aware. But at the same time, if you have two consultants with you, like if you have your therapist and your psychiatrist, it's still your decision completely, and you need not go and announce it to the world. So in the beginning, I did not tell anybody about it, but I was very sincere with my doses. I think 1 week I sort of took. I was given very small doses to start with, so I did not jump into medication. My condition was monitored every single, like within, I think, the first week. What made me realize that I can trust my therapist is because she kept checking on me if in 2 days time, am I doing okay, am I waking up feeling more groggy, am I feeling more heavy headed, am I feeling more lightheaded, am I able to have a conversation with people without blanking out, how is my what are my medicines doing to me. And then I was encouraged personally to keep a journal where I started keeping a note of how my moods were changing post taking medication. And week on week, I was asked to report in that journal that how did I feel today, what happened today, or like, am I able to record sleep. So in the first 3 to 4 weeks, I did not notice any significant change in my sleeping pattern, except for the fact that maybe I would have slept 2 3 hours more than usual, but I used to wake up extremely groggy. It made me more angry than usual to wake up. I'm not a morning person, but these medicines made me even more angry because I used to feel so heavy. And this is where I started. And then I realized that your mental health journey, as much as you want to take it alone, needs support and cooperation from other people. And that's when it becomes a smoother journey, because I realized that I'm not able to wake up properly, and like I'm feeling very low. It takes me a little more time than usual. Also because my body was not used to sleep, and now I was getting accustomed to sleep, and that was also not. You think that all the answers lie ऐसे एक बार में सब कुछ चेंज हो जाना चाहिए, because तुमने तो like कैसे दिखाते हैं ना फिल्मों में कि तुम सब अच्छा हो गया, like you did something, you changed a mindset and an idea struck. That's not true. I think what you start realizing with this journey is that consistency comes with time, and your body, even with positive patterns, your body is not used to it. When I started eating healthy, for a few days, I used to vomit. I used to have diarrhea. I used to get fever because my body was not even used to that kind of food, and I was pushing so many toxins out of myself. When I gave up, like even now, I can't. Like I used to have lots of coffee before. Now I have little coffee, but my withdrawals were so strong that even when somebody would be talking, I would zone out without caffeine. And this time I had pills also. So like, I'm not even getting a stimulant. Upar se I'm zoning out. So I used to zone out as in like a person could be giving a presentation, and I used to keep my recorders on. I used to keep my phone recorders on 24/7 so I can go back home and I can keep listening to the presentation because I've not recorded anything that person has said. There came a time when all of this is what started happening to me in the second or third month of my therapy with medication. By now, when my body started getting used to sleep, it took me at least 5.5 to 6 months to start waking up more cheerfully. Because before that, I started with extreme anger. Then I started with extreme, like, then slowly, I took support from my colleagues, and I told, I let my boss know that I'm on medication right now, and this is what it's doing to me. So I may be half an hour to 45 minutes late in reporting. But because evenings are slightly better for me, I can be there a little longer during the evening. And around that time, when I was given a mood stabilizer, I think evenings used to be amazing for me because the mood stabilizer just makes you so calm. It's almost like, a tranquilizer. So I used to perform my best in evenings, and I started reporting this to my doctor that this is becoming a concern, that I'm just not able to perform well in the morning, afternoon time. Like I just don't feel functional. And it's only evenings that keep make me feel calm. And we had to then navigate and change the prescription. Like then we had to relook on what kind of medication will be prescribed so that my evenings become so that I'm able to feel a lot more productive. Uh, Slowly and steadily, my breath was like, I was made to do more, not exactly meditation, but a little bit of breath work, where she started asking me if I'm able to live in the moment, because I usually used to live in my head. Anything would go wrong in my situation around me, and as to suppose if I saw an accident, and if I'm not able to take it, I would immediately go and create a scenario in my head where I'm somewhere else. I'm not even present or here anymore. And I have mentally distant, as to just distance myself from the situation completely and not face it. Uh, I always had blood injection phobia. So, like I can faint at the sight of blood. So we started addressing these small, small things. I could not sleep in the dark. So she's like, "Are you able to sleep in the dark now? Because are you able to just, your blood phobia will not go with medication, but are you just able to look at blood? Are you just able to, you know, take the sight of it?" And slowly and steadily, this process started. I started seeing changes in myself, though a lot of people, again, again, a lot of my friends, the stigma of medication never went away. A lot of my friends kept telling me that these are like type B drugs and type C drugs, and you're going to be addicted. I know people, and this used to come to me every now and then, that I know people and they cannot stop taking, they cannot sleep without this medication, and I would keep going back to my doctor, and 100 times I asked her this question because it played on my mind, and this is what my therapy taught me, that when something is on your mind, please confront it. Don't suppress your emotion, or don't presume something. Don't stop assuming. If something is bothering you, develop the courage to speak and gain clarity on it. And 100 times I asked her that, is this medication going to harm me in a certain way? One thing I was made to do was watch my weight, watch my eating habits, which in a way started improving with my sleep. It was magical. But I think after 3 months of really struggling with that kind of 3 months of setting my sleep pattern, my medication was changed twice, because even the pills that I was given for insomnia in the beginning were not helpful, and then I had to revisit them because my insomnia was so strong. uh, this was the time when I could breathe without really getting worried about something, when I could start living with myself a little more, when I stopped being overly positive about everything, because this is what a self-help book had taught me. Whereas my therapist taught me that not your emotions and not every emotion in your day has to be looked at with positivity. Certain things have gone bad. Certain people have been shit to you. Certain things are not working out for you. Please accept it and find a way to deal with it. I think that's what therapy has to do to you. And that's an antidepressant started making me, what it made me realize was that there are certain chemicals in your brain that stop you from feeling happier or from feeling lighter. They are not present in enough quantity, and that's the reason why you are suffering from anxiety constantly. And there is no hard cause for it. You've not called it upon yourself. Your parents have not done it to you. It's just something that your body is like. Some of us are tall, some of us are short, some of us are something, and some of us are just born with lesser of that chemical, and we have to, and that's the reason why we face what we face. And as we grow older, because we are put in the world out there, that's when we realize that something is missing, a very important component of our life is missing. And that's when you realize that your anxiety is a little more serious than somebody else's. So the antidepressant helped a lot, because while my anxiety didn't go away completely, step by step I saw it reducing. Like today, I can watch a show, I can read a book, I can sit with myself, I can listen to music, and I will not keep thinking that I'm missing out on something, or something has not been done, and now I can't. I'll not keep fidgeting with things around me. I can have a conversation with somebody without constantly checking my phone, without constantly, while that person is talking, without constantly thinking of something else. It doesn't mean that all my days are the same. Some days, I just want to run away. Some days I just don't want to see people. Some days I don't want to take action. I want to procrastinate a lot. And procrastination can also be a form of, one, it could be that you don't have a concrete goal in mind, but another it can be a form of depression and anxiety together, because you want to achieve so much that you're overwhelmed by your own desires and your own expectations, and you don't even want to get started. And that's when people say that you have no chills, to thoda chill kar le life mein. But nobody realizes that you have set such high ambitions for yourself that even you are scared to now walk on that path, hence you are just running away from it. And I used to keep very unrealistic. What I learned from my therapist was realistic goal setting. Like, to expect yourself to get multiple raises in 1 year is unrealistic. To expect yourself to win or to just set up a business that will give you millions and millions of dollars just like that, it may happen, but it's just unrealistic to put that kind of pressure on you. Yes, procrastination also stems from the need to be perfect, and perfection is one of the signals of anxiety. When you want everything around you to look good, because in your own mind you're placing these objects, so you're placing you're sort of OCDing on certain objects from time to time, and also how you start caring a lot about how you appear to others, and that appearance makes a lot of difference to your mental health, because uh, you're constantly seeking validation. So yes, you're right, procrastination seems from the need to be perfect. And I think all of this together, we see these movies in which we have the protagonist. We read books in which we read about people who achieve surreal things. Uh, they've achieved amazing things. You have overachievers at work, and what we do is we sometimes don't realize, we don't map our own capabilities and our strengths and our weaknesses to our goals. When we are creating a goal in our head, we only want to play on our strengths, or we think मैं somehow or अपना, I will enhance myself all the more. I will work super hard on myself. I will do this also, then I will do that also, and I will do. We forget that our weaknesses are also very important to take into consideration while we are goal setting. If I'm a person who is maybe a little more, maybe physical strength is not my greatest asset, then I cannot just set a very extensive goal for myself to just become, have a super toned body and, just be working out. I will have to set a realistic goal where I start off, and then I get into the groove and I get into the practice of becoming a little more, start contributing step by step rather than just going all out. And this is what I learned from therapy, that realistic goal setting, understanding where your limitations are, accepting your limitations, and feeling proud of your limitations also. Because your limitations will sort of keep you more humbled. Otherwise, if you were like, then you have lost it. Like, then there is nothing to tone you down if you're that, if you're, getting 100 and everything. So, I continued with my course for almost like 5.5, 6 months. Is 6 months of medication is what I did. My sleep cycle was perfect. Like today, I can go off to sleep at around, I can have my 7 hours of uninterrupted sleep, which is my greatest achievement. I think it's in many, many years, I have slept well and I have realized how good it feels. Today, when a certain email comes to me, I will not, like, my palms will not become sweaty before checking it. When a friend is giving a certain comment, so what I hear is that one has to also embrace their limitations instead of considering exactly, exactly. Yes, it is. It is a victorious feeling when you stop over, like, when your friends today pass a comment on you, or they're bullying you a little bit, you do not take it super personally anymore, because you have done enough work on yourself to understand that it's okay when they are living in the moment. It's all in the moment, and tomorrow we'll all forget about it. And at the same time, you've learned to say no to a lot of things. Like, I think when I'm not okay with something, I'll just be like, no. I can be in a room full of people where everyone's having a drink, where I don't want it, and I'll just be comfortable with the idea of not drinking. I'll just be like, I don't want it. Like, your no becomes so powerful that you're just like, I'm super comfortable in doing this. That's what therapy did to me. It taught me how to say no. It taught me how to stop judging other people. Like, they will, and people will, and everyone tells me that if you become so non-judgmental and if you become so calm, people will take advantage of you. Trust me, they are not taking advantage of you. When you are that, when you are working on yourself, when you are prioritizing yourself, you will not let people take advantage of you, because you're not doing this to prove a point. You're not doing this for acceptance. You're doing this for your betterment. And we all instinctively know how to take care of ourselves. It's just that a therapist or your medication becomes a bridge between the goal that you've set in your mind versus your reality. So uh when and now I feel like I will not be forced into a lot of things when I'm not. So many times after 8:30, even if I know there's pressing work to be finished, I make myself unavailable, because I know I can take an early start in the morning and finish it. I stopped giving my Saturdays and Sundays to work unless it is one off, when it is a necessity. I started valuing my time with my friends. I started valuing my time with my family. I started valuing me time. I started valuing, and now when I know if clothes have to be washed, I don't feel like I should procrastinate. I will just wash it because I want to be done with it. All that. So these are changes that I saw in myself, and I'm still telling you, I'm not 1000% perfect. Like, there is a long way to go. Even though my medications have stopped, I still keep having word with my counselor from time to time. There are certain things that I don't feel confident about, and I feel like others may not be able to give me that sort of clarity that she can give from a professional aspect. Um, Also, I know a lot of people think therapy is expensive, but it is just an investment. Like, I know personally that it can get difficult, but even if you can't like go to somebody, please understand, please discuss these issues with your counselor also, where you think money is a problem, because a lot of them are willing to listen and willing to understand your financial background. Seek organizations that are willing to help you. And I won't say that, please, I won't say ever stop reading a self-help book, but don't start living by pages, because your journey is going to be very different from the author's journey. Like, I know people who kept telling me that affirmations are my thing and everything, and I was like, that's great, but if it helps you, it is the best thing on this planet. But do not always expect even your affirmation to work. Like, don't put that pressure on your mind that I'm saying this again, I'm saying I'm positive, but I'm not feeling positive. Please don't put that pressure on your mind. And the next thing is, stop following your friends. I mean, love them, be with them, have fun with them, but their journey is not your journey. Don't do what everyone else is doing. If your heart says that you should go out for something, like, uh, maybe everyone wants to party all night, but if your heart says that you should get some sleep, go ahead and do it, even if your group shames you for it. Trust me, I have seen people fall into a massive well that they have dug for themselves. And all they want to do is just hold your hand also and take you along. Because this is sort of the new definition of friendship, and it is extremely sad that people just want to, discourage you from having a more healthier lifestyle than encourage and push you towards it. So trust me, sometimes please do not judge your friends. Don't hate them for it. It's their journey. Don't start preaching. Don't start telling everyone to go to a therapist. Have fun, but know where your limits are. Ask your body if it's drained out. If a workout makes you feel better, then go get it. you know Spend the right kind of money on yourself, on buying the things that you need, rather than just following what everyone else is doing. Exactly, respect each other's boundaries. And even for yourself, stop forcing everyone to do everything. Like, you're going to have that one night when you're going to get drunk, you're going to have fun. You'll have that one night when you're watching movies, you'll have time together, you'll go out for dinner, you'll have fun. But it can't. Just understand where you need to take a step back and take care of yourself. Just remember that it's not about not having fun, but just see where, I started realizing that being productive actually makes me happy, and not being super productive, just being appropriately productive. Like, if I just cook a meal for myself in a day, on a day off, and if I just watch TV, I feel good enough because I cooked a meal for myself and I took a shower and everything, and I'm fine. But I don't have to do everything on that one day. So this is my journey, and I think it's still like there's a long way to go, but yeah.
I think that's so inspirational for so many of us, and I see all the love that you've been getting. I think there are so many takeaways from this journey that I personally feel that in everyday life we're doing so much. For example, that like for example, the toxic toxic positivity that we talk about, or the hustle culture that we're living in, and we're pushing ourselves to, we have to reach this and we have to do so much of this, that we forget that it's important to draw boundaries, where to stop and take care of, yourself first, and then be productive. So you don't have to be productive all the time, and that
No.
there's, yeah, and I also felt that, it's very important that as much as we are aware of ourselves, we're also aware of the people around us. For example, you talked about the feedback that, your friends used to give you, that, wow, you're becoming so thin. But a lot of times we do not realize where they're coming from. So, as people who, are around people, I think it's very important for us to be more aware and look at subtler things of our friends. And, for example, to just not go away and say, anything and everything that we feel, but look at the subtler things that they're trying to say to us and be more, mindful of those things. And yes, therapy takes time, growth takes time. It's not magic. It does not take, happen in one day. You just go and, you won't, it won't be a magical wand that would be thrown at you, and one day you're feeling low and the other day it'll be all fine. It takes time. And, for example, you take antibiotics, and if वो एक हफ्ते का course होता है, अगर आप 2 दिन में छोड़ दो, तो, there's no point of it. So you have to start and you have to end it till, you feel better. And I think that's so important. And you also put light on the fact that misinformation is so harmful, from people, from Google, from social media. There's so much misinformation going on. For example, you'll go bald if you take medications, and things like that. And yes, therapy is expensive in India right now. The situation is difficult, but I think there are so many organizations working towards it, and there's so much awareness that there are organizations, there are counselors providing therapy for free. You have to reach out, that there are people who are looking out for you, and you just have to find the anchor to hold you on. So I think that's inspirational. And I think, it's just, we all look up to you for your journey of growth and your journey of healing. And it feels that, we'll not be too hard on ourselves, and I think we'll be like you, and, we'll set realistic goals, and we'll seek help when needed. We'll draw healthy boundaries, and we'll be proud of ourselves, but we'll not push ourselves too much that, it goes hard on us.
Please don't. Not worth it.
Thank you so much for this.
Thank you.
I think I'd like to invite Dr. Preeti Kapoor now.
Sure.
If any of you have any questions for Miss Vineeta, you can please go ahead. There's a question in the question section. How does a lay person know when it's time to seek help?
So I think is there anything but so when you start, there is not a good time or a bad time to seek help. When you feel like there's a dip in your emotions, when you feel like things are affecting you a little more than usual, please go out and talk to a professional. And a lot of people tell me that if you go to a therapist, they will zabardasti remove something, but the truth is that not all of us at all points in our lives will need therapy, but all of us go through situations where we need a little bit of support. And you can't always go and cry to your friends and your family about it, because they are not able to understand what you're going through. So when you start seeing that something is bothering you a bit too much, when you feel like you're listening to people but it's not helping you at all, that is the right support. Because you've cried enough, you've gone through it enough, you've tried. You yourself instinctively know that I've tried everything and nothing is really working out. One thing, if you start getting thoughts of self-harm, it is the massive, it is the biggest red signal. Self-harm can look like anything from wanting to commit suicide to, stop eating properly, to not drinking, to not drinking enough water, to, when you're not stepping out, you want to be in the dark all by yourself. This is the time that you've hit rock bottom. And when you are always, your self-talk is becoming more negative, your mind is just not willing to look at the positive things in life, even if you are like, I know certain people have religious beliefs and they go like, but I believe in God and it will be fine, and that it's okay. And please don't let anything, like, with due respect to each and every philosophy, to each and every religion, to each and every person, don't please understand the practicality of life also, at this point, that certain places is good. You may find a friend in a therapist, you may find your confidant in a therapist, and that's also a beautiful feeling.
Thank you so much. I think it's very important to realize that, spirituality or religiousness does provide you with hope when you're going a little low. But after one point, if you have a headache, you just don't rely on God to cure it. If you have fever, if you have chicken pox, you just don't say that, if I don't take medication, it'll heal itself. So yes, you depend on God for hope, but you know when to go to a doctor and seek help. So I think that's important. There's another question: how to convince or maybe make people realize that going to a therapist isn't a big thing.
So, like, so initially, like, my therapist had told me that this is your personal journey, and you don't have to, you don't have to make it public if you're not comfortable. So people will know that you're seeing a therapist only when you go and tell them. So till unless and until you don't feel so it's going to a therapist is never going to be a big deal. But yes, a lot of people will ask you कि क्यों जाना है, कितना कुछ है जो कर सकती है, क्यों जाना है, like क्या करना जाके और क्या हुआ जाके, and so many people will ask me क्या मिला जाके, क्या हुआ जाके. And when you suddenly have an anxiety attack or a panic attack, even after going for therapy, they'll be like, अरे तो therapy से तुझे फर्क नहीं पड़ रहा. Do not let these questions bog you down. So, your journey is very personal. You don't have to disclose it to everyone right away. There are certain people whom you are obliged towards, like, maybe if you think your family is not very supportive, give them also some time. At your workplace, if you think your HR or your bosses can help you, please keep them informed that you're seeking therapy. And maybe there'll be certain limitations, though you're seeking therapy to overcome them, right? How are you able to figure? So, there are so many ways that you just have to first feel comfortable with the idea of going to a therapist. Let your therapy at least bring you in that zone where you feel like it's okay, I'm just seeing a therapist for my betterment and I did not explain this to anybody. So none of my friends knew, except for my two close best friends. Nobody knew I was seeking therapy when I first started. They were super supportive, and that's the reason why I told them. A little later, my boss knew that I started with medication, and she was amazing. I think my organization is brilliant in that way. Then after that, just a little later, my parents knew that I was seeing somebody, and my dad was willing to come with me to a counselor. So I think that was brilliant. I think I really thank them for that kind of support. It took me a lot of time, and not all my family members till date know that I've taken medication. And I feel like it's something that I don't have to go about telling everyone. I know someone has asked, in how many forms does anxiety manifest? I'm not the right professional to tell you this, but I know that I undergo generalized anxiety disorder, which is like, it is not a particular external situation that is making me anxious, but I live with anxiety. It's like, some people become anxious because they've experienced an accident, a heartbreak, loss of a loved one, something that's making them angry. But a generalized anxiety disorder cannot be owed to a particular situation. It just is something that you just don't realize where it's coming from.
I think it's very important for organizations and schools and people to be more sensitive and accepting of mental health disorders and mental health situations, and not stigmatize it, but actually be accepting it, and not be ki, oh my god, and not have this typical stereotypes. And I think organizations have to create a more inclusive space for people who are going through situations. I think Preeti Kapoor ma'am is.
Yeah.
Also, in relation to that, we have another question that, for example, if somebody comes to us and they are, struggling with anxiety, how do we react to it? Because we expect people to, react to us in a one specific way if we are dealing with anxiety. But how should we as friends or companions react to somebody, or be with them, or what to say and what not to say? Because it's a dilemma for us to, if what if we hurt them, what if we say something wrong?
I think what I personally experienced was it hurt me the most when my boyfriend had asked me to just calm down, just chill out. Like, these words kept ringing in my head till I was able to overcome them. That he said that you take the world on your head, and it's you just want to be an overachiever. And I think that is what really, and it made me self-doubt, because that he was the person closest to me at that time. And I think when you're in that age, like, when you're just in college, you take your partner is someone that you completely want to, they become like your whole and soul, they become the center of your life, right? It's only a little later that you realize that your life can be a lot bigger. But with time, I think a few things that I've heard from my friends, from a few of my colleagues, from a few of my family members, is that a simple "Are you doing okay?" and "I'm here for you." I think these are certain things, and to realistically tell them that I understand this may be hard for you, even if they tell you things like, my nail broke, and that person is undergoing anxiety, and the person keeps talking about it, and keep just saying, "I'm here for you." I may not be able to fix your nail, I may not be able to give you a quick solution, but whatever you're going through, I'm there for you. I think that is, here for you are three magical words that if you just tell somebody, I think it just naturally gives you that kind of, subconscious relief that someone is there for me. And apart from that, after saying it, please be, depending on that person's condition, they may need you more. They may need more of your time. They will want to come and unload a lot to you. And at certain times, it's okay to just let them know that, I may not be available around this time. So yeah, I know Pranay has asked, were there withdrawal symptoms when you were weaned off of the meds? Was there a transition? So honestly, I think this is a very, very important question, Pranay. So I personally did not face any withdrawal symptoms because I was not weaned off. Just like I was not, I was given very strict instructions that once I am like 1 or 2 months into meds, please do not stop them just like that, because you will never know of what changes you've undergone. So for me, I was made to journal everything, every symptom, like every other day I was asked to write what I was feeling. And day after day, uh, once my sleep cycle was set in place, then I was put off the sleeping pill. Once my mood was better, once I was able to be a little more active during afternoons and evenings, and I was not I used to undergo this mania where I would just go and spend a lot of money at one go, and then the other go I would be extremely wise with my finances, and um, I'd be extremely nice to people, then I'd be extremely mean to people. So once that settled a little, when I started taking control of taking charge of how I was feeling and how I was reacting, I was put off mood stabilizers. The last was antidepressant. There was a certain course that you're supposed to follow for it, depending on how your anxiety levels are, and your therapist will keep monitoring it. And that was stopped slowly, very, very, the transition from taking all of these together was it was sort of like it was ironed out for me. For me, this transition personally was extremely smooth. It could also be because my condition was not medically that severe. It was not clinically that severe. People undergoing clinical depression may, they may face something different altogether. But even with my antidepressants, from a complete dose, I was given half a dose for an entire month. And then after that, I was put off that for 2 weeks, and then I was monitored very closely. Like my therapist used to call me every 3 days. Even if I wouldn't call her because I felt I was completely fine, she would still call me. And because of like last year's lockdown, we couldn't see each other. So we were all the more connected digitally or video calls or something. And she would check how I'm feeling. Then I was monitored for at least 2-3 months to see if my sleep cycle is getting back to normal or no. Am I facing any disturbance? When I was fairly in charge is when she was like, it's okay. Like, this is where you can, I think it's now fine to just stop it completely. With the awareness that there could be a time again in your life where you may have to take it, but right now it's okay. I don't think we can hear you.
I think that's a slow process, and it does not happen. You're taking medications for like 2 years and you just give up on them. So I think I think Preeti ma'am is unable to join. Preeti ma'am, if you're listening, can you join us? I think she'll be joining us. Till she joins, I think we'll like to extend our gratitude for you to, for
Please.
joining us.
I think it was just amazing, like to have this talk in the morning and so many people.
I think we need constant, the constant hope and constant affirmation from somebody to keep going and not give up. And hearing stories like these, hearing stories of hope and growth, I think that keeps us going, keeps us motivated to not give up if we are having a tough time. And
yeah, I think Neeti is asking what is this regarding. Neeti, this was we were just discussing about how what is anxiety, what is it like to live with anxiety, and how do mental health illnesses spring up. Are you also bipolar? No, I'm not bipolar, but at one point when I was given a stabilizer, I was told that the kind of signs you're showing, it could be like a borderline bipolar activity, but it wasn't diagnosed as bipolar syndrome. I think the another thing that really goes a long way more than anything is how we, the kind of talk the kind of the way we behave with our friends. I think what we, especially in India, what we forget is respecting each other's limits and boundaries. I think we really want to go all out and
Yeah.
hello,
Hello, everyone.
hi.
Hi, nice to meet you again, Vineeta. Excellent, narrative and talk. So I'd like to thank you on behalf of the team. But to go a little more forward, I would like to tell the audience that is still with us that this was our first story, हमारी पहली कहानी, और ये कहानी चलती रहेगी. So what I want to tell the audience is that we are going to meet every Sunday 11 a.m. and a few words about why we have called this Reset the Narrative. The narrative, of course, comes from our resource people, but I hope that this particular narrative of yours, Vineeta, and the ones which are to come is going to help us reset our narratives in the way that it'll help us to go forward in a more happier, balanced way. Rather than feeling कि ये हमारे साथ ही होता है, बाकियों के साथ नहीं होता. So even though हरि की कहानी अलग है, बिल्कुल अलग है, but yet there are some points where we can touch each other and make things a little more relatable, understandable for us to go ahead. So what I would like to also share is that the next few sessions are going to be where the youth come in, share their issues and concerns. And I would also like to go ahead to say that it is not going to be only on mental health. It could be on gender relations, sexuality, sexual orientation, sexual health and hygiene, on loss, grief, bereavement. Well, not to leave, of course, interpersonal relationships, love, creating boundaries, suicide, self-harm, so on and so forth. So what we are planning is that every Sunday, 11 a.m., we will have different platforms, of course. Maybe Instagram for people like me. Many of my friends have said, how are we to attend? Because we don't have an Instagram account. So I can understand them. So we'll have multiple, platforms where we will be sharing this. But Vineeta, what you have shared is that, yes, our own health, well-being rests upon ourselves as well as on the support of others, and it requires work and effort. It doesn't come easy. And one very important takeaway is that what you said at the end, this will maybe continue, maybe it was one of a type, happened and it's over. But yes, we do see a tendency, a predisposition that once it has happened, what is it going to be maybe even later on? So it is important to keep in touch with yourself, that this is what has happened and this is how I can look after myself, because I am a very strong believer that it's only when you look after yourself can you look after the others. And there are many others that we love, we care for. So that is the little message I want to give out. And if there are any more questions, Devanshi, please go ahead. Devanshi, we can't hear you better. Devanshi, we can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, I think most of the questions Miss Vineeta covered during the live session and in the end, I think they're all answered.
Okay.
But one question is that we're not used to, feeling positive and being motivated all the time. So how can we do that to ourselves? How can we stay motivated?
Preeti ma'am, do you want me to go ahead or do you want to take this?
Yes, please. No, you're the guest of the day. We'd like to hear from you.
So mine is a very personal perspective. I think this is what I even shared during the session, that toxic positivity is also on the rise these days. You don't always have to be optimistic. You don't always have to be cheerful. You don't always have to be happy. It's okay sometimes to have your, what I understood through therapy was that accept your emotions. Try to come out of them step by step rather than just, you don't have to kill that kind of sensitivity that you do have, which can also be a beautiful feeling. It's okay to be a little sensitive. It's okay to be a little more empathetic. So throughout your day, if you're not feeling optimism about something, it's okay. If something is uncertain, it's okay to feel the uncertainty in that moment. But also at the same time, what I heard, what I realized was that the kind of issues that you allocate your thoughts to, that is what is going to weigh on you. If there is maybe a presentation tomorrow, and if I keep thinking about it, I'm not going to do something about it.
Yeah.
And that then I think I just fall deeper into that. It's like that. It's a well of negative emotions then, which I've already fallen into because I'm not taking any action, but I'm only sitting and worrying about it. And it's so strange because the minute you act, you realize it just takes me half an hour to prepare for this presentation. I really don't have to worry about it the whole day. It didn't have to take my 8 hours of worry. Yeah. So I think when you're really feeling that, I'm not able to bring that kind of optimism in my life, do reach out to someone who can genuinely help you understand where this kind of intense negativity is coming from. But also at the same time, if there is something you can logically act upon, then please act. If you think there is something that you are putting on the back burner, then please finish it. It will make you feel a lot better.
True. Yes, you're right, Vineeta.
Ma'am, I think there's
but
one.
Also there is a question. Okay, go ahead. No, what I was trying to also continue in the same vein as Vineeta, that, this whole culture of that we have to be happy and only then one is happy. Sorry to put it in this way, it's not so. And it is this particular belief or a sort of a myth that is developing over a period of time, so that even when you are feeling certain emotions which are good for you, you tend to put them aside simply because you have been told gussa nahi hona, gandi baat hai, achhi baat nahi hai. Then it becomes as if feeling angry needs to be repressed. Every emotion has an important function to play, whether it's jealousy, embarrassment, or guilt, for that matter. Yes, each emotion has a message, but हम क्या करते हैं, उस मैसेज को एक घर बना लेते हैं और उसमें हम बैठ जाते हैं. That is what you don't have to do. Just take the message from the postman. A letter comes. It is just to communicate. Take the communication and do not stay within it. Take it, do something about it. It is telling you, because actually when you look at the field of psychology, every emotion has a survival concern. And I can only survive if I can look into what I'm jealous about, embarrassed about. And these are the feelings that help us regulate ourselves. And it's only when we regulate our emotions, which are extremely important in our life, how colorless our life would be. Even if you feel jealous about your boyfriend, I think it's a good thing. But yes, when jealousy harms you or the other person, that is when you need to look at how to regulate. Okay, sorry for the lecture.
Ma'am, thank you so much. I think it helps us a lot. There's one theme of questions that has emerged that, a lot of times when we're going through something, I think, a lot of people we love and people who are around us blame themselves for, what we are going through. So how do we tell them and also ourselves that it's not our fault, it's not their fault? And, for example, if I'm dealing with anxiety, it's not because of them, it's not because of my parents, how they, reared me. It's not because of that one friend who fought with me. How do I do that?
So, like I faced this as well, because when my parents got to know that I'm taking therapy, they the first reaction was that, what have we not done right? When they first saw me undergo an anxiety attack, they felt that, why does she cry so much? She's got the best of everything that, that we could have given her, the best of schools, the best of education. So why is she crying? And I think what I started doing was I started observing how I'm conducting myself with these people. So, the people around you feel more guilt also basis, how the kind of passive or active signals you give them. So I stopped, even though I was in that, I started realizing in my therapy that my mental health affects me, but it also affects people who care for me. So if I, if there's a friend of mine, if I keep ignoring her just because I'm undergoing something, she will just feel like, I forget that she is feeling ignored and she feels responsible for something which she may have not done. And she's putting herself on a guilt trip and trying to analyze, why is she not returning my calls? She doesn't know what's happening to me. I think it's so important to, with your closest friends and people who really matter, to have a heart-to-heart conversation, like to let them know that there is nothing that, to always at least try. It is difficult at times, but at least try to give them a smile. Try to, talk to them once in a while and do keep them informed that there is something that, I think that kind of reassurance, as much as we need it because we are undergoing therapy, even they need it because they are around us. That, I am working on something. And you are an important part of my life and you're valued. So even if I'm not able to give you 2 hours of my time, but if I give you those 15 minutes, those 15 minutes mean a lot to me also.
True.
And I think once that, I think my therapy helped me become a little more easy with this kind of communication. Before and after scenario was that, before where I would switch off from people, I think after I started accepting people as a part of my life and I started valuing them more than that. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah, good. Thank you so much, Vineeta.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I think this is it. There are no more questions. And I think Preeti ma'am, would you like to conclude?
I think I have said by and large what I wanted to, but yes, this is an initiative. This is our first story. And I'm really grateful to Vineeta to have accepted it, because even on the first call, I was a little hesitant, but let me tell you, there was a connect and a bond where I spoke a lot and then Vineeta spoke a lot. And we realized that, yes, we could start such an initiative and take it through. So for me, the excitement was there. And I also thank the team, because without this particular team, all this would not be possible. So we are going to have other sessions where we'll use another platform. It's going to be activity based, so that we learn to take care of ourselves. So thank you so much, Vineeta. I think we really owe it to you that without any push or anything, you accepted the invitation. A heartfelt thank you to you, Vineeta.
Thank you.
Bless
Thank you
you.
so much. Thank you so much. I wish you guys a lot of luck, and I'll support in whichever I can.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Bye. Take care, everyone. And we'll be back next Sunday.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Mayura.